So good morning again. It is my true pleasure and honor to be here with you today. I would especially like to welcome the human rights defenders, activists from around the world that have gathered here and that will share their stories with you because they are all incredibly courageous and brave, and we all are with them in their struggle. And this meeting is just one piece of and a small demonstration of why it is important and how it is important to support their efforts internationally. My name is Jakub Klepal. I have the honor to head Forum 2000 Foundation in Prague, a non-governmental organization that was established by the former President Václav Havel and that focuses on discussing the challenges to democracy around the world, searching for ways forward, preserving and supporting democracy and supporting human rights. This panel is called The Return of Authoritarianism. Indeed, as we can see around us, the authoritarianism and authoritarian regimes around the world are on the rise, and this can be seen in different aspects, both external and internal. The external aspects are quite clear. It is more self-confidence of regimes like Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, Venezuela on the international stage. They are more active. They do use international institutions. They actually create their own international institutions and groupings that try to undermine the rules-based international order. We have heard here that they are playing key roles on bodies such as UN Human Rights Council. They are also using increasingly their soft power in terms of cultural exchange, academic exchange, the media, the different kinds of propaganda and undermining of the flow of information. We all are aware of the activities of RT, formerly known as Russia Today, of Chinese television, and of other outlets that are fairly known. But we are also aware of activities of not so well-known internet-based media organizations, trolling, etc. That is very active, and that has been playing a larger and larger role, not just in weaker and newly establishing democracies, but also in more traditional Western democracies. We have seen that recently in several Western countries, including in the US. We also see that there is growing political activity and political connections of the authoritarian regimes with the West, with the Western democratic political systems. For example, over the weekend we have seen a visit by the leader of the German AfD party in Russia, meeting officials, discussing cooperation, and we have seen other activities of this nature in Europe in recent years. There is also hard power that these authoritarian regimes project more and more abroad, and Crimea or the situation in Donbass are just two small examples of that. And there's, of course, an internal aspect to this increased activity of authoritarian regimes in the world. And these include heightened control over the societies, increased persecution, increased centralization of power, increased control of media, less and less space for civil society, less and less space for opposition political parties, etc. And because of all this, it is more and more important that we together join our forces and stand up to these efforts and show that we see what is happening and we are willing to address these issues and we are willing to tackle these problems. The panel that has gathered here this morning has representatives for two countries that I have just been talking about. One of them is fairly known. We have known about the situation in Russia for years. We know that it is getting increasingly problematic. The society is getting increasingly closed. We know about the recent examples, such as the case of Vladimir Kara-Murza, and we also see Russia's activity abroad. The other country that is being represented on this panel is an example of a country that has until fairly recently been what I think can be seen as an upcoming democracy, a regime where we could have seen an increasing openness, democracy functioning, independent media, civil society. In fact, it has been for some time seen as a possible model for Muslim countries as a specific form of a Muslim democracy. Unfortunately, the situation in Turkey has changed for the worse, and we have a person that will share some of his views on this with us. So without any further comments and without any further ado, I would like to hand the floor to our speakers this morning, and I would like to start with Jana Nemcova, who will be our first speaker. Jana Nemcova is a Russian journalist, political and social activist, and as you know, she's also a daughter of Boris Nemtsov, leading Russian liberal politician, opposition politician, and former vice prime minister of Russian government, who was murdered in Moscow in circumstances that have not been cleared until today in February 2015. After receiving threats, Jana Nemcova moved abroad and currently lives in Germany and works as a journalist for Deutsche Welle. So I would like you to welcome Jana Nemcova.